Hello, my name is Jim Hemingway. I created these posters I call Pro Football Dashboards recently. I'd like to tell you about them. They're basically a 50-year historical summary of a team on a poster that you can see at a glance. So on each poster there, we're looking at the St. Louis Rams here. So on each poster there are 6 images, so let's walk through those before we start to focus in. Top left we have what I call the personnel chart. We've got coaches, quarterbacks, running backs, stadiums. On the bottom left is what I call the season and scoring summary: wins, point totals, playoff results. In the middle we have offensive and defensive metrics. On the right hand side we've got first round draft picks on top and Pro Bowl players on the bottom. So let's move over, let's start with the personnel chart. So the columns here are the years from 1966 to 2014, which is what I call the Super Bowl era, because the Super Bowl one was after the 66 season. So you can see the different coaches that the Rams have had here: George Allen, Tommy Prothro. Here's Chuck Knox in orange, John Robinson in green, all the way up to the Jeff Fisher era most recently. The Rams have had 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 coaches during this time period. The quarterbacks here color coded. Running backs color coded. You can see a lot more volatility there. And then the stadiums that they played in. Now, the coach and the QB legends will be superimposed on the offensive and defensive metrics to allow us to draw some inferences, which we'll get into in a minute. At the bottom here, we've got the season scoring summary. So we've got 5 things plotted here. The red lines are the number of regular season wins. Then these blue and gray columns, the gray column, the height of that is the number of playoff games played that year. The height of the blue column is the number of playoff games won. And then there's a little text box that describes the outcome. So for example, over here, won Super Bowl 34, the height of both columns is 3, so that means they played 3 games, they won them all, and won the Super Bowl. Then down below in the green and red, so the green lines are points scored by the offense. Red lines are the points allowed by the defense, and this axis, of course, is flipped. So, the smaller negative numbers on top, that's where you want to be. The pink range here and the green range here are the range of the rest of the NFL on that metric. So you can see the Rams in 1967, they gave up 196 points, probably about the best in the league that year, and the worst team was down around 400. Then the blue column is just the net of those two, right? It's points scored minus points allowed. I call it the differential. And the Rams have, you can see they started out very good, they mediocre in the 80s, bad in the 90s, better in the greatest show on turf era, and then horrible since then. So now let's move over onto the middle 2 charts, offense and defense, and focus on the offense, because this is where you can see some of the synchronization with personnel that I was mentioning. So the QB legend is here, is this colored row, which is the quarterback color legend compressed. So the blue, dark blue is Roman Gabriel, then John Hadl here in the light blue. But look how much better John Hadl was on net yards per pass attempt than Roman Gabriel had been. As soon as he came on board, was the starter, did much better. Then Pat Hayden is the orange. You can see he was mediocre. Oh, excuse me, that's James Harris. Pat Hayden is the light orange. 3 bad data points here and a really bad one there. Vince Ferragamo is green. Good. And then we get into the Jim Everett and other eras. Get way out here and look at Kurt Warner. He's the 3 dark brown data points. Best in the league, best in the league, best in the league. Mark Bulger comes along, they revert to middle of the pack and then get worse. So you can see how the personnel changes really influenced how their offense was doing. Down here, this metric here is percent pass play, so it's the percentage of time that they pass the ball. You can see the orange coach legend, that corresponds to Chuck Knox. Look what happens the first year he comes along. They go from passing the ball more than about the league average to 29%, which is the league low that year, and they stay low for the next 5 years, which was his tenure as head coach. So the coaching and personnel changes really drive a lot of the offensive stats that you see. Down below on the defense, you can see I've got yards per game, yards per carry, net yards per pass attempt, sack ratio. You can see again here the green and the pink columns show how the Rams do relative to the rest of the league. So when the blue line is in the pink area, that means that they're allowing fewer yards per game, and that's in fact close to the league low here for a while. That's good. On sack ratio, you want it to be high, so it's just the higher the number is, the better, of course. And when the sack ratio is low, they give up lots of yards. That's bad. But as that improves, this gets better. As the number of sacks grows, yards per pass attempt gets lower. The defense is more effective. You can see the relationships between stats. Shifting over to the right, you can see first-round draft picks. And now they and the Pro Bowl players are color-coded. So red color is for defensive players, green is for offense. And the thing with the Rams is they've had actually a pretty good high degree of success with their first round draft picks. The x-axis here is number of games played as a professional. 160 games basically, corresponds to a 10-year career. And you can see the Rams have had quite a few players. Actually, it's one of the better totals. And you can see from 1991 to 99, they had a real good run here. Todd Light, Sean Gilbert, Jerome Bettis, Wayne Gandy, Kevin Carter, Lawrence Phillips, Orlando Pace, and then Torrey Holt in 99. So quite successful at getting careers out of first round draft picks. In terms of the Pro Bowl players, you can see that the same color coding applies. You can see the different eras. We've got the Merlin Olsen and Deacon Jones era in the late 60s, Merlin Olsen and Jack Youngblood and those guys in the 70s. Then we've got Eric Dickerson and Jackie Slater. And then we've got the greatest show on turf down here, but you can see a long-term decline in terms of the number of players selected from the Rams to the Pro Bowl. Just reflecting that they've gotten worse over time, and they've had several years where they've been completely shut out. But so that's a Pro Football Dashboard. I hope that's been interesting, and that you find them interesting yourself. So they're available if you have questions or would like to see them in more detail. ProFootballDashboards.com, all one word and plural. ProFootballDashboards.com. Prices are $39.95 for one. Buy two, get the third free. So I hope you go out there, take a look, and become a fan and buy a couple. Thank you.